After a long hiatus, Combat Corner, we're back right in time for, in my opinion, I think my favorite card of this year. Most certainly my favorite main event of this year. This is the fight that I've been looking forward to more than any of this year. We knew it was going to happen eventually, so that's why I think we didn't put it in maybe our list of what we were looking most forward to. Um, and yeah, I I didn't think there would be a fight that I would be looking forward to more than a Tom Aspinall title defense, but here we are, Hamzat versus Drakus, and I think this is kind of getting slept on as one of the best cards of the year.
Yeah, I definitely think it's up there right now with 314. It's giving it a run for its money as card of the year, so we haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah, we've had a few pullouts, an egregious weight miss from Brian Battle. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make this after missing weight from 170, goes up to back up to 185 and misses by 4 pounds, weighing in at 190, um, which is simply inexcusable at this point. The fight got called off, obviously. And yeah, now it seems like if this happens one more time, we could be talking about Brian Battle being on the chopping block, even though he seemed like a guy that could have been one or two or three fights away from potentially fighting someone ranked. So it's like that's just the way the sport goes. Though I mean, it can turn on you real quick, and the outlook of someone can change very fast. So as long as we don't have any more issues, we should be in for a really good card.
I agree. Starting the card off, well, not starting the card off, but the first fight we're going to cover is Edson Barbosa versus Jakar Klaus. Um, Excited to see Edson Barbosa fight. I think it's his first fight in 2 years, I think.
Yeah, getting up there in age, Edson is hasn't been the most active as of late. He fought his last fight was in 20, it was actually this year. Actually no, he was booked this year against Steve Garcia, and that got canceled. His last fight was last year. He lost a main event decision against Lerone Murphy, who we'll be talking about a little later. Um, Lost that pretty clearly, and then before that, he was on a two-fight win streak. Again, he had the crazy comeback win against Sadiq Youssef after being hurt early, and then had a first-round KO over Billy Quarantino. So even though he's coming off a loss and is at the age of 39, he's still shown at not too long ago that he can get work done. Those wins were back in 2023, so it's going to be interesting to see where he's at now at the age of 39. And that being said, I am picking Drakkar Close. Close has only lost once since 2020. He lost in 2020 to Beneil, and then his only loss since then was last year, and I believe that was it was against Joel Alvarez, if I remember correctly. Outside of that, he had been winning every year and getting knockouts. And these two are both a little bit older, but I think just where they're at in the careers and the mileage. Edson is 2 years older, but has a lot more fights under his belt. So I think Drew Carclose is going to be able to close the distance. Um, I think Edson's going to be using a lot of kicks in this fight, try to keep Drakkar off of him, keep trying to keep that distance. But I think Drakkar is going to be able to catch him. If it's not a knockout, I wouldn't be surprised at a decision. I feel like both these guys can remain pretty durable. Edson's shown that he can come back from being hurt before. So if I had to pick anything, I would pick Drakkar Close via decision. I think that's how I'd go with it. I'm seeing on the money line there that Edson is at minus 140, and that was a little surprising to me, if I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Edson is, he's older. He's been around the block. He's fought some absolute legends, the best of the best, one of the best ever. Not him. He fought one of the best ever. But I think the experience will show. I think Unk still got it. And I'm rolling Edson Barbosa by knockout.
Knockout, really? You think he's going to turn back the clock? You think he's going to get? You're thinking head kick. You thinking he's going to land in volume? What do you think?
I think it's gonna be a TKO, and he's gonna get flatlined out cold. But I think Edson Barbosa is gonna drop him. I could see him losing the first round, and then finding himself, and then come back in the second or third and just dropping him and getting a TKO, some ground and pound.
Yeah, it should be interesting. The reason I went with decision, I just think both of these guys have shown their durability. I think they can. Drakkar Klose has been finished before, but I mean, he's super gritty. I think he'll be able to weather any storm, weather Edson's volume that he might bring, and I think he'll be able to land the harder shots.
Yeah, and one thing, I like Barbosa a lot more at lightweight than I do at featherweight. I think he performs
100%.
better.
At this stage of his career, at 39 years old, I like to see him not have to cut as much weight.
Yeah, so I think that'll play into this, and I'm just got Edson Barbosa by TKO. Next fight on the card, one I'm super excited for. I'm a pretty big Chase Hooper fan. Got Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez. Excited to see him back in there after being on 314. Had a pretty okay fight against Jim Miller.
Great post-fight interview.
Yeah, hopefully he didn't spend too much time gooning this camp because this isn't Jim Miller. But I think Chase Hooper's too good. I think his length and his ability, his reach is just too much for some of these lower guys in the lightweight division to handle. And I like this little title run that he's on right now. So I'm gonna go Chase Hooper by decision.
Title run. He's not even ranked yet, and you're talking about title run.
He is on a title run.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Hooper's been super impressive since moving up to lightweight, and I mean, he's been in the UFC for a long time now, and he's still just 25 years old, which is crazy to think about. But like I said, he's been on a tear since he's been at lightweight. Last fight, like you said, at 314, decision win against Jim Miller. Last year, got 2 fights in the books, beat Clay Guida by submission in round 1, beat Vyacheslav Borshev by submission in round 2. And then since then, he's been either subbing guys or getting decisions. So we kind of know, it seems like at this point, we know where Chase is going to be attacking the fight, especially in a fight against Hernandez, where Hernandez is a little bit shorter guy, stockier guy, uses his power and is striking really well. But you ask anyone, they're going to say that Hooper has the advantage. So I think we know where he's going to go with this. My thing about this fight, what stuck out to me most, the betting line, I don't think Chase Hooper should be as big of a favorite as he is. You can see minus 330 on the screen there. I think that is way too low of odds. I think Hernandez can give Hooper real problems on the feet. Like I said, he's a little bit shorter, stockier. Those guys are usually harder to take down. So I'm not exactly counting Hernandez out here, and I think on the feet there's a clear advantage. And the reach isn't that much of a difference either, even though you look at the two and you think that Chase Hooper would have a massive advantage. It's only 2 inches. So this one's going to be tough for me to pick. I am going to roll with Chase Hooper. I think he'll be able to have some control time. I don't think he'll find the sub in this one. But I think he'll be able to have some control time. He'll be able to attack submissions on the back, land shots from top position. But I'll say this, I will not be surprised one bit if Hernandez can find that shot on the feet and potentially put Hooper away. So this one was one of the tougher ones on the card to pick. I am going to roll with Hooper, but I don't think the betting line should be where it's at.
Yeah. Shout out Chase Hooper though, man. Big fan of him. Next fight is I'm just kidding. Jessica Andrade versus Lupi Godinez. I think Lupi should be a bigger favorite in this fight, personally. I think she's gonna win 28-29 decision.
29-28.
or yeah, 29-28
Yeah.
decision. Um, that's just how I feel about it. I really don't have much
I
to say
mean,
about this fight.
we can tell you're super excited about
I'm
this
just
one.
calling it how it is. This is gonna be the fight where I go to the bathroom, go grab another beer, make a plate of food. That's what this fight is.
Yeah, so to dive into it a little bit, Andrade has a lot more experience. I mean, she's still 33 years of age, which in women's MMA is a little bit older. Um, she's bouncing around different weight divisions throughout the last few years, and it's been up and down for her. She's been getting finished in her last few, and I think at this point in her career, we kind of know what we're getting. Excuse me, out of Andrade, she's going to be trying to put on the forward pressure, trying to pull at volume. I mean, throw. She's going to throw with heat. She's going to throw haymakers. I think Loopy's just the cleaner striker. Um, she definitely will have. She actually doesn't have the reach advantage, which is surprising. But I think she's just the cleaner, more technical striker. I think she'll be able to land straight shots, and I think this is going to go to a decision. I don't think either of them possess the power at this point to put each other out. So I'm going to roll with Loopy here. I'd say by decision if I had to pick, but if I'm betting on this, I would just throw it on the money line. Yeah, I'll roll with Loopy here. I think she's where they're at in their careers. It seems like Andrade's just sort of on the downside towards the end of her career, and Loopy is trying to make her way up, make a name for herself. And it's a spot where she could beat a former champion, beat someone who's been in the promotion for a long time. I think if I'm getting this right, this is Andrade's 30th UFC walk, which is insane. Um, so props to her for being in the promotion that long, being able to rack up money. She was a former champion, but I'm gonna roll with Loopy here. I think it's just her time right now.
Yeah. Uh, Shout out Dana White for making these badass fights right now. Loopy wins. We're putting her in the Apex main event. All right. Next fight, GM3 versus Michel Olejek. Actually, I'm kind of excited for this one.
I think this is a sleeper. I think this could be a sleeper for fight of the night. I think obviously the main card is stacked, and we know what we could be in for in the main card. But I think this is a sleeper pick for what could be a really entertaining fight and potentially could be up there for fight of the night.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I like GM3. Most people do, I think. I'm surprised at the betting line. I don't think Michel Olejek should be that big of a favorite. I mean, we saw.
He didn't open up as that big of a favorite, and as it's gotten closer to fight day, the money has gone even more so in his favor. It's put the line even down further. If I remember correctly, I don't believe he opened at even minus 200. So the money's obviously we know where people's heads are at with this, with favoring Oleszejczyk. I do think he should be the favorite overall, but I mean, GM3 is he's he's frisky. He is creative. He can cause problems, and he's pretty unorthodox. Obviously, the age difference is evident here.
Yeah,
Meerschaert kind of being in the twilight of his career. Oleszejczyk is trying to make his way up in middleweight. So I think Oleszejczyk is just going to show that he's a little bit more well-rounded than GM3, especially showing that on the feet. Obviously, in the grappling, I wouldn't be surprised either way with what happens. GM3, as I said before, he's really creative on the ground. He can cause a lot of problems. But it's just been kind of up and down for him as of late. His last fight was against Brad Tavares. He lost via decision. Before that, lost to Reiner de Ritter. No shame in that. Actually beat Edmund Shabazian, which is a pretty good win in round 2. And then beat Brian Barberena, excuse me. So he's been up and down. His only few losses in the last few years have been to some of the main some of the bigger guys, especially De Ritter. Um,
And Hamzat.
so Hamza a while ago, and I don't think GM3 wants to relive that. So I'm gonna roll with Oleszejczyk here. I'm being a little chalky here, but I think it's just as I said with Luis Godinez too. I think he's just kind of more prepared for this moment. I think he's gonna look more well rounded, especially on the feet. But the other part of this is that he is viable to get subbed. Um, I mean, he got submitted a few times last year. Got submitted by Michel Pereira. Got submitted by Kevin Holland, and
Broke his
before
arm.
that, lost to
Kevin Holland broke his
yeah,
arm. Don't think I
yeah,
forgot about that, Oleszek, when I talk about what my pick for this fight. Don't think I forgot about you getting your arm broke by Kevin Holland.
yeah. No, so I'm honestly kind of going back and forth on this, and this is another one that's been kind of hard for me to pick. Even now, I can see plenty. I can see a path for GM3 to win, but my gut's telling me Oleszejczyk. I think if he'll be able to keep this standing, he'll have a clear advantage. So I'm gonna roll with Oleszejczyk here. But as I said a few fights before, GM3 wouldn't shock me if he got a sub here.
Yeah, for the way I see it, like I said, Michel Oleszek, I think his last fight was a win at 314. Before that, he got his arm broken by Kevin Holland, which
KO'd Rodriguez Dumas in the first round at UFC 314.
Yeah, and we saw how Kevin Holland was at middleweight. Was not good. I think that might have been one of his only wins at middleweight was breaking his Oleszek's arm. And now he's training with the Fighting Nerds out of Brazil, trying to get some of their plot armor. I don't think it's going to work. I'm rolling with GM3 by decision here. I just have not really too impressed by Michel Oleszek. I think the experience is going to show. I got GM3 getting it done.
Yeah, the main thing here is before you go up, I mean, there's the path to victory is super clear for both of these guys. For Oleszejczyk, keep it on the feet, land the harder shots, land the cleaner shots. He's going to have the striking advantage. He's going to have the speed advantage on the feet. And then for Gerald Meerschaert, get it to the ground, attack submissions, pass through Oleszejczyk's guard. I mean, it's a clear advantage as far as who we know is going to have the advantage on the feet and who we know is going to have the advantage on the ground. It's just a matter of where the fight goes, in my opinion.
Yeah. Excited for this fight. The next fight on the card, the prelim headliner of Basingar Susurkev versus Eric Nolan.
Yeah, feature prelim as of 3 days ago. Susurkev is one of the cooler stories of this year. He trains with Khamzat Chimaev. He just got his contract off of Dana White's Contender Series this past Tuesday. Now making the trip to Chicago, fighting on short notice, and I think everyone and their mother is going to be picking Susurkev here. I certainly will be. Both of these guys taking this fight on short notice, but it seems like Susurkev, obviously he does, like I said, trains with Khamzat Chimaev. I think he's going to be able to get a finish here. I'm going to say that he gets a TKO here.
I couldn't agree more. I also have Susurkev by TKO. I could tell Dana's really trying to push this guy, put him on the press conference. I think he did bad at the press conference.
He did well. He was talking his stuff.
He was funny. It was crazy fighting on Tuesday, getting your contract, coming back Saturday. I think he's gonna finish Eric Nolan. Not much to be said, but excited to see how he goes. Now to the main card of 319.
This is where it gets fun.
We have Kai Sakura coming back since fighting Pantoja for the belt, fighting permanent number 13 ranked Tim Elliott. I think it'll be a fun fight, but I will say I have Kai Sakura winning via knockout. I think his striking is going to be better. He's really good in the clinch. I think he's going to throw a nasty knee up to 10 that's going to rock Tim Elliott. I think he's going to finish the job.
Yeah, Tim Elliott, he hasn't been able to be as active as he maybe wanted to be in the last few years. His last fight was a win over Sumadarji. Um, I almost botched that. UFC at the Song versus Gutierrez fight night. That was in December of 2023. That was the last time he fought. He was booked in May of 2024 against Tatsuro Tara. Um, and as you said, he's kind of just been in that same spot in the rankings for most of his career. I mean, as I said before, he's 2-1 in his last three. To be fair, his last loss was against Muhammad Makayev, who's undefeated, and shouldn't have been cut from the UFC. But just lack of activity here for Tim Elliott. Kaya Sakura fought last December against Pantoja, frantic first round, and I just think the speed here is going to be a problem for Elliott. The diversity of strikes, the creativeness of strikes for Masakura. Um, I think I think Kai's in a real good spot here to put on the performance that he wanted to against Pantoja to really live up to the hype that he brought coming in from Ryzen. Um, I'm also going to go with Kaya Sakura via KO. I completely get why the money line is where it's at, and honestly, I was a little shocked that the betting line wasn't even more in favor of that Sakura. So I'm going to roll with Asakura via KO, I'll say in the second round.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Kai Skura back in there. And hopefully we can see him fight more. I think he's fun to watch. Next fight, Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page.
This is one of my favorite ones that whenever I saw the booking, I love this stylistic matchup. MVP staying up at middleweight is something that we didn't think would happen. We thought he could be going back down to 170 after his decision win over Shara Bullet back in Abu Dhabi. Um, I'm gonna roll with Michael Venom Page here. I think he's gonna win via decision, similar to his last two wins against Shara and against Kevin Holland in his UFC debut. I think the lateral movement is going to be a problem for Jared. Jared's usually a little bit more flat-footed, usually relies on landing hard strikes and using his power rather than using volume. And I think the lateral movement, the speed, um, and just overall, MVP is someone that is super hard to prepare for. It's hard to get guys that can emulate him in camp. Has that sideways sort of karate stance, his hands real low, just super unorthodox. Throw throw some crazy stuff, some knees, some spinning elbows potentially. So I think just the creativity and the elusiveness of Michael Venom Page is gonna cause Jared problems. Jared sits down on his shots a lot, and if he can get Venom Page up towards the cage, then he could be able to land. Um, Frankly, if I was Jared Cannonier, I feel like using the wrestling and the grappling would be his best bet. But I honestly don't think that Jared's going to want to do that. I think he's going to play into Michael Venom Page's hand here. And I think Venom Page is just going to outpoint him. He's going to land some lunging right hands, some knees up the middle, and I think he's going to get a decision here.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll agree with you when I first saw this fight. I mean, I was excited, but I thought about it more. And I will say, I don't think MVP has put on very fun performances in his fights. I will say that. I think he's been pretty boring. I mean, he's fun to watch. He's a good striker, but I mean, nothing to write home about. Yeah, I mean, he'll point at the guy in the fight and laugh and whatever, and that's funny. But I mean, he hasn't really done anything. I'm going with Jared Cannonier by decision. I think it's gonna be a boring fight, a lot of clinching.
See, that's the thing. I think a boring fight, even with a lot of clinching, I think that's just going to favor MVP. I think if it's a boring fight, then that means that MVP is going to be the one controlling the distance, outpointing it, as I said before. I think Jared's best path here is to get a finish. Because I don't think the volume is going to be on his side whatsoever. And if you're a judge seeing the strikes thrown and who's being the aggressor, I I feel like Michael Venom Page is going to be both of those things at the advantage. So, in my opinion, Jared's best path here is a finish.
Oh man, people forget Jared Cannonier is a marauder. Um, I got him by decision, 29-28, boring. Probably be the most boring fight on the main card. I mean, I really do like MVP. I think he's a cool guy, funny guy. I like watching his stuff. But his fights are just boring to me. He's like you said, he's a point fighter. But I just think Jared Cannonier is gonna be too much. I think Unk still got it. I think after that win he just had, he's gonna keep rolling with that. I think he's gonna win. Next fight on the card. I saw this guy fight live. I'm not gonna say the joke, but Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal. Super excited for this one. I think this has potential. Or not potential. This is my pick for fight of the night. Super fun fight. Was supposed to be on 314. Got taken off. I think Jeff Neal pulled out. So Prates obviously ended up fighting Ian Gary. We saw how that went. Like Jeff Neal said, whoever gets knocked out first is going to lose the fight. And, I couldn't agree more. That's astute observation from Jeff Neal. I will be rolling with Carlos Prates by decision with this one, though. I think he's quicker. He's obviously younger. But I think Jeff Neal has just been around the block too much. I think he's too durable to get chinned and get knocked out. And I like this fight for Carlos Prates. I think Ian Gary was just too big of a step up in competition right now for him. So I like the Jeff Neal fight. I think he gets it done by decision.
Yeah, so in the Ian Gary fight and in some fights prior, even though Prates was winning, we saw him kind of forcing, not necessarily forcing, but kind of chasing a finish and kind of hunting for it. I think he's learned from that Ian Machado Gary fight. I think he'll be a little bit more patient and just try to land whatever he can. I think he's going to have the power advantage. Obviously, you see the reach difference, 3 inches. Carlos Prates has a 78-inch reach. And for Jeff Neal, I think it's going to be an issue of closing the distance, getting past Prates' hands and those knees up the middle that he's really fond of. I'm rolling with Prates here too. I actually think he's going to get a finish. I think the power is going to be a problem for Jeff Neal. I think Prates has one punch power, especially with that left hand that he loves to throw down the middle, that straight left hand. So I'm going to roll with Carlos Prates here. I'm going to take him by knockout, actually. But that being said, I do respect Jeff Neal, and this is another fight where I was a little shocked at the betting line. I think Prates should be the favorite. Obviously, I didn't think it would be minus 235. I thought it would have been more like minus 180. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with Prates here. Younger, has the reach advantage, has the power advantage. I think he's gonna throw more. I think he's gonna be the one on the front foot. I think he's gonna be the one pressing, get Jeff Neal up against the cage, and try to catch him and cut him off. So I'm gonna roll with Prates here. I'm gonna say second round KO.
Yep. Excited to see Carlos Prates back in there. Next fight, co-main event, Leon Rocky Murphy versus Aaron Pico, making his UFC debut. Kind of crazy that he is the favorite, but I mean, he's good. We know that. Is he good enough to beat a 40-year-old prospect, though? That's the question.
Okay, 40-year-old is crazy.
34-year-old prospect. He's 16-0, Lerone Murphy. Glad he stepped in and was able to. Obviously, Aaron Pico was supposed to fight Movsar Evloev on the Abu Dhabi fight night with Robert Whitaker and RDR. But they moved. Movsar pulled out, and this fight was moved over here. I like this fight. I think it's good. That being said, I'm rolling with Lerone Murphy by decision. I think Aaron Pico has the pieces to, win. But we've seen with these Bellator guys coming over, I think Michael Chandler used up all their plot armor. It's gone now. They can't win on their debuts. I'm done doing it. I picked Pitbull to win. I picked Patchy to win. Not doing it this time. I think Lerone Murphy is going to show this. Which I want to say this. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I think out of all those guys coming over recently, Aaron Pico might be the best one. I think it's going to be super close. Close enough where people might say he gets robbed, but I'm going Lerone Murphy by decision.
Yeah, so Lerone Murphy hasn't had a finish since 2021. He is undefeated. He's beaten a lot of really good guys, like Dan Ige, like Edson Barbosa. He's beaten Josh Emmett now, so he's starting to kind of gather up some names that have been in the division for a while. I've been going back and forth on this one since I saw it booked a few weeks ago. I'm really high on Pico. Especially you talked about how the Bellator guys, the PFL guys coming in haven't been as successful as of late. Pitbull, 38 years old. Patchy makes a little bit younger, 32-year-olds. Aaron Pico's he's just entering the prime of his career. He might not even be there yet. 28 years old. He had some slip-ups early in his career, was able to get finished. For anybody that doesn't know Aaron Pico, for anyone that doesn't watch Bellator or PFL, if I had to compare him to anyone, I would compare him to a Justin Gaethje. He has elite wrestling credentials. He was one of the best wrestlers in the country whenever he was strictly wrestling, and but he doesn't always use it as much as some people may think he should. He has rocks for hands. He hits like a truck. He can knock anyone out with one punch, especially with his left hand, which he loves using to the body and throwing those left hooks, especially off of clinch. And the wrestling credentials, we've seen Lerone Murphy get taken down before. We've seen him get control before. He has prevailed in all those fights, but there has been times where we've seen him get taken down sometimes easier than we think he should. That being said, I'm still going to roll with Lerone Murphy here. I'm going to roll with him by decision as well. I wouldn't be surprised either way with this one. I think Pico stylistically has the tools, and on paper, it might seem like a bad matchup for Lerone Murphy with the wrestling credentials for Pico. But I think the reach is going to be able to help. I think Lerone's really good at managing distance, not getting hit outside of the Dan Ige fight. I think he'll be able to land more in volume. Pico is going to sit down on a lot of his shots and try to get that one punch knockout, that walk-off knockout. So I think Murphy's going to be able to have the volume advantage. I think he's going to have the more strikes landed. And overall, I mean, when you talk about the experience at this level, Pico coming in as a co-main event on one of the biggest cards of the year, is the spotlight going to be too big for him? I personally don't think so. I think he'll have a good performance regardless of win or lose. But I am going to roll with Lerone Murphy here. The experience that he has in the UFC, he is a good striker, even though he doesn't carry as much power. So yeah, I'm going to roll with Lerone Murphy via decision.
Yeah. I will say I got more excited for this one as the build up and closer we got to fight day and fight week.
Stylistically, I think honestly, if I'm talking about Aaron Pico, even though I'm picking Lerone Murphy to win the fight, I think this is a better matchup for him than Movsar Evloev would have been. I was definitely thinking that Movsar was going to win that fight. So I think this is best case scenario for Pico coming into his debut. But I mean, it's another situation where we're putting a Bellator PFL guy straight into the deep water, straight in with the Sharks, fighting a top 7 guy in the division. So I'm just going to roll with Lerone Murphy here.
Yep. Next fight, the biggest fight of the year. I cannot believe we're finally here. Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Borz Chimaev. I've been waiting for this fight for so long. It got me through the rest of this week. I just got to make it to Saturday and get to watch Khamzat and Chimaev. Khamzat gets his custom shorts. They're all right.
I don't mind them. I don't think they're bad. The
They're
only
not
thing I would say about
horrible.
the only thing I would say about the custom shorts is that I would have had the base color like a gray or a black instead of the blue because I mean I feel like we've only seen Hamza ever wear white or black. But regardless, I think there's a lot of shorts that are better, and I think there are a lot of custom shorts that are worse.
Yeah. But I'm just so excited for this fight. It is a highly skilled matchup, maybe one of the highest skilled fights we've seen this year. Um, it is hard to predict. I talked about this in a group chat with Preston earlier. I think the Hamzat cardio narrative is just dumb and silly.
Why? Wait, why?
Yeah, he gets gas, but Dricus du Plessis gets just as gassed out. He looked
Not anymore. Not post nose surgery. He hasn't. Anytime we saw Dracus looked really exhausted, it was the Darren Till fight. It was the fights before he had that nose
He
surgery.
looked
Now,
exhausted in the Izzy fight. He looked
no, he
exhausted.
didn't.
Yes, he did. He
He
was
did not.
exhausted, and he was
No,
exhausted in the first Strickland fight. I could tell he was gassed at the end.
he was winning those later rounds. He won
I'm not saying he was losing. Izzy and Strickland were gassed out too, but DDP was gassed out. He looked gassed out like Hamza. I will say he looked gassed out like Hamza did in the Gilbert Burns fight and the Kamaru Usman fight, which Hamza won. He easily won. Those were not robberies. I think 5 rounds he would have still beat Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. That was don't forget, Kamaru Usman came in on short notice. He was supposed to fight Paulo Costa before Kamaru Usman. And now on short notice, 11 days, he's got to train for one of the best fighters we've ever seen, one of the best welterweights of all time.
It's still 10 days notice, and in the third round, we could see who cardio was holding up more, who looked fresher, who was landing more.
He 10-8'd Kamaru Usman.
In which round?
Don't forget, he 10-8'd Kamaru Usman.
On 10 days notice.
Yeah, it's a short notice fight for Hamzat too. That's a completely different matchup than Paulo Costa and Kamaru Usman. Completely different. He easily won that fight. I don't think Kamaru Usman.
I agree.
Same with the Gilbert Burns fight. Gilbert Burns put him to the test. I will say that was an amazing fight, but at the end of the night, Hamzat clearly won. I thought. I'm just saying, Dricus du Plessis gets gassed too. He looks gassed too. He doesn't have some. Dricus du Plessis does not.
That's just Dracus. No. That's just Dracus's style, though. Dracus has talked about this. How he looks awkward. How he does this on purpose.
He looked gassed. Yeah.
He always has the awkward fighting style. He's hard to prepare for. His footwork is awkward. His strikes are awkward. I think if you ask any media member or anything, they're going to say that Dracus has some of the best cardio, and I agree. Since he's had that nose surgery, he's been holding up in these 5-round fights. He's gone to a decision twice with Strickland. He's looked great. He went 4 rounds with Izzy and was winning the fight until he got the finish as well. Just because Dracus has a sort of sloppy, unorthodox style, he's not gassed in those fights. Dracus has some of the best cardio in the UFC right now, post nose surgery, and that's real. And it's one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. The fact that he went from someone that did visibly look gassed every single fight, and then after he got that nose surgery, the first fight was with Robert Whittaker. He's looked incredible. He's looked like he hasn't taken a step as far as his cardio at all.
I'm not saying. I know it's his fight style. He is good. I'm not saying I think he's a top 3 middleweight of all time right now. If he wins this fight, there's talk for him to maybe be the best middleweight of all time if he beats Hamzat Chimaev. Maybe Hamzat Chimaev and gets another win. There's talk for him to be in the best middleweight. But
no, there's not.
He was gassed. I'm not going to sit here and say he wasn't. He was visibly gassed.
He was not.
Hamzat, for the Robert Whittaker fight, trained at elevation, got his cardio up, and it didn't even matter.
Here's the thing about Hamzat and the cardio. Hamzat is going to go at 1,000,000 miles in the first round like he always does. That's why his cardio looks bad in the third round in any fight that it gets to. It's because if Hamzat wanted to, I bet, and he fought a little bit more conservative, I'm not saying he needs to do that because obviously what he's doing has been working for him. But when we talk about Hamzat's cardio, the reason that he looks visibly tired in these third rounds, in these second rounds, is because he's going at the most frantic pace possible in the first round, trying to attack the finish, because that's who he is. That's who he'll always be. We know this. So it's not like the cardio thing is because of it's not that his cardio isn't holding up normally. It's because he's going a million miles per hour in that first round, unlike Drakus.
I know. I know he goes fast, but I'm just saying, I don't think the cardio. I'm not worried about that in this fight. I will say that right now.
Okay, wait. So tell me this: if this fight gets to a 5th round, who do you think is going to win more rounds?
Guess what? I'm picking. You want to know my pick? I'm picking Khamzat Chimaev to win by decision against Dricus du Plessis and be the middleweight champ of the world. That is my official pick.
By decision?
By decision. Khamzat Chimaev to win by decision.
Let me look at what the odds are for that, just to see how much Vegas disagrees with you. Okay, Khamzat Chimaev minus 260 favorite. Let's see, method of victory. Khamzat Chimaev as a minus 260 favorite to win by decision is at plus 450. Nobody thinks that he's going to be able to last through a decision, especially against Drakus, who has good cardio. I think Khamzat's best path to victory is rounds 1 or 2. Get the submission, get things done early, get Drakus out, overpower him, use the strength against him. If Drakus can withstand that first round storm and even the beginning of that second round, I think he can coast. That being said, I still honestly tomorrow I could change my opinion. I've been changing my opinion every day for this fight. As of right now, 11:17 p.m. Eastern on Friday, August 15th, I'm going to go with Khamzat. I'm not going with him by decision. I'm damn sure not going with him by decision. I think Khamzat's going to get a submission or a TKO off top position. I'm going to say a submission. I'll say late round 1, early round 2. He finds a sub. He gets Drakus to the ground, and he becomes the new middleweight champion. But yesterday, I thought Drakus was going to win by decision. And honestly, if I'm talking about some sneaky betting lines, as I said, the later the fight goes on, the more it favors Drakus, in my opinion.
I just don't believe that.
I firmly believe that, and I think most people believe that. Our boy Tully in our group chat even said that he believes that as well. Most of MMA media believes that. Anyone that's picking Drakus is banking on him withstanding that first round and getting it to a 5th round. If it gets to a 4th, 5th round and Khamzat's as tired as I think he'll be, I think Drakus is live for a KO.
And Drakus is going to be tired as I know he'll be.
Drakus's cardio is not going to be the problem here.
Defending all those takedowns and submission attempts, Khamzat's going to have the control time. Khamzat is good on the feet. He's got good striking. He does.
Yeah, but we've seen in both of those fights that Khamzat had, the takedown attempts weren't as frequent. He was willing to stand more, willing to trade. He's not after he gasses himself out and after he empties the tank early, he's not going to be shooting as much as he does in the first round. He's not going to be as relentless to shoot in a 4th round, in a 5th round. It's going to be more on the feet. And honestly, I favor Drakus on the feet.
I don't. You thought it was crazy when I picked JDM by decision. Look what happened.
Completely different. That is a completely different. That's not comparable.
It is comparable.
You have no point with that.
Khamzat Chimaev by decision to become the new undisputed middleweight champ, 15-0. And then he defends it against Aaron Hernandez at 321 in Abu Dhabi.
I would love that. That'd be great.
Insane fight. But still super excited to see it. Like I said, it's been the fight I've been looking forward to the most all year since I found out we weren't getting Islam Ilya or John versus Tom. It's been number 1 on my list. I think this fight is even if those fights were to happen, I think this fight is just as hype and fun as those fights are. So this fight cannot get here sooner enough.
1,000%. I mean, the thing that's so awesome about it is that we've been waiting for Khamzat to have this title moment. He's been talked about as someone that everyone thinks is going to be a future champion, whether it was at 170. whether it was at 185. Now we finally get to see it. We've been waiting for so long for it, and now it's finally here. And I can't wait to see how he does under the lights. I will say there is a narrative out there that people are concerned if Hamzat becomes a champion. Excuse me. That it won't be good for the UFC, that it won't be good for the middleweight division because Hamzat historically hasn't been as active as people would like him to be. Now that he's able to fight in the States, I think that will change if he does become champion. He's fighting in Chicago now. Obviously, he's going to fight in Abu Dhabi whenever he gets the chance. So as long as he's able to fight in the States, I actually don't think it'll be bad at all for the middleweight division that he becomes champion because he'll be able to remain active. At least just get 2 a year. Just get into a year. And that's all I ask out of a champion. Just get into a year.
I think Hamzat becoming champ would actually be a good thing for the entire UFC. Really, besides Ilia Topuria, they don't really have a superstar champ right now. Maybe Dricus wins, he could be a superstar champ. But I think if Hamzat wins, he's such a superstar. You saw at the press conference, the entire crowd was chanting Hamzat, booing Dricus du Plessis.
Which that was surprising.
That was surprising. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Hey, to be fair, Bilal said it. Bilal said Dricus is not welcome in.
You got to check in with Bilal. I didn't know he was right. Bilal runs Chicago.
I guess so.
So I think, like I said, besides Ilia Topuria, we don't really have a mega superstar in the sport right now. And even then, Ilia is not, as big as some of the people used to be. I wouldn't say he's on the level of Alex Pereira was last year. No one will ever be the level as Conor McGregor, but
even a Ronda Rousey. We've had those two unicorns that we had with Ronda and with Conor in the 2010s, and since those two, there hasn't really been anyone to match that. And to be honest, I don't think there will be, even with Topuria, even with Hamzat potentially. And for Dricus in this spot, if he gets this win, whether it's by decision and especially if he gets a finish, we got to have some serious, uncomfortable pound-for-pound talk when it comes to Dricus and where he stands if he can get this done.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff to talk about come Sunday or Monday whenever we make that video to see what happens. We're hopefully going to try to be more active. Had some, just moving in to a new place and, having difficulties finding time to record and whatnot. Have most of it figured out now, so hopefully record more and get more videos out.
Yeah, hiatus over. We didn't talk about it on this one, and we're running out of time here, but we will talk about the UFC's move to Paramount on the next one.
Yeah, and some little cool news. Not together, but me and Preston will be attending UFC Noche in San Antonio. Super excited. His first UFC event, my second one. I'm excited to see Silva and Lopez.
Yeah, so like AJ said, we'll go over all of this. We'll recap UFC 319 Sunday or Monday night. And until then, can't wait for these fights.
Yep.